All right. Hey, ladies and gentlemen, on the planet, this is another edition of Power Connections today with Kevin Vaughan and my wonderful and busy and excited host today, or to say guest today, is Mr. Kenneth Braswell. Brother Kenneth, how you doing today, sir? I got to acknowledge you first. How you doing?
I'm doing fine, blessed and lifing. I'm doing
Yes,
both of
sir.
those at the same time.
I love it, man. We appreciate you so much. Hey, guys, we are so excited. One of my three favorite words is family, and then mothers, and then fathers. Okay. So, and we can talk about some more, but those are my three favorite words, which really comes down to the family, guys. We're excited about Mr. Kenneth Braswell, ladies and gentlemen, CEO and founder of the FathersIncorporated.com, FathersIncorporated.com. I want you guys to push that in your network right now and send that out to everybody on your network. Okay. First of all, listen to this broadcast today for a few minutes. We're going to be with them just for about 15 minutes or so. But I want you guys to go to the website too, share that out, check it out, share it out, and support, and even have, if you can catch them, Dr. Braswell on the network as well. So we appreciate you so much for being with us. Hey, Doc, any opening comments real quick? Anything you'd like to say? Because a lot going on the planet. Always have our guests say a few words of encouragement. Anything you'd like to say to the network first?
No, I'm just appreciative of you. I think that there needs to be as many voices as possible out there talking about men as as a conversation,
Yeah.
particularly as it relates to family,
Yes.
and more specifically in my space as it relates to fatherhood. And
Yes.
so there can't be enough of us right now. I know sometimes as black men and black people, we can get in competition with each other,
Right.
which I
Yeah.
ain't messing with them because he got a podcast. I ain't mess.
Right.
We could do that craziness. Listen, we all should be speaking, and we
That's
all should
right.
be speaking from our platform. I am a
That's,
huge believer that God allows us to be able to
yeah.
speak to the sheep that are
Yeah.
assigned to their particular shepherd, and
Yes.
that what I can say to my sheep may be certainly different from what you can say to your sheep, and
Right.
how our particular sheep are going to respond to hearing from our voices. So I appreciate you for doing what you do and keep up the great work.
Oh, thank you so much, Mr. Braswell. Hey, ladies and gentlemen, you got to understand this. I've never been in the military, Brother Braswell, but the military term I understand. When we go to DEFCON 5, the whole system is on readiness, and we're all doing one goal, and that is to win, right? Whatever we're doing, we're going to win that as a team. So that's what we do here as well, ladies and gentlemen. We're talking about family, fathers today as well, but we're excited about this opportunity with Kenneth Braswell, ladies and gentlemen, CEO. Hey, I want to read real quickly his wonderful bio. You guys can check it out on the website as well. But Kenneth Braswell is Chief Executive Officer of the Fathers Incorporated, ladies and gentlemen, a widely recognized national and international nonprofit organizations supporting fathers, practitioners, researchers, and policymakers that provide capacity building services to thousands of organizations working to ensure that fathers contribute to healthy well-being of their children. You hear that, guys? This is a corporate thing, a corporate thing. We're talking about nationwide, in some cases, I'm sure worldwide. He brings 30 years of collective work experience managing and leading fatherhood and community programs. Thank you so much for that, Mr. Braswell. We salute you for that, man, because we understand what it takes to get that done. Additionally, he serves as the national director of the National Responsible Fathers Hood Clearinghouse, NRFC, directing and guiding the strategic activities of the NRFC, ladies and gentlemen. Throughout his career, this is powerful, guys. Y'all pay attention. Kenneth has managed over 70 million in fatherhood programs. Braswell serves on the several national boards and committees, including being on the board member of Little Free Library. I love it. Welcome again, Dr. Kenneth Braswell. Dr. Braswell, thank you so much for your time again, sir. Awesome.
Thank you so
Awesome.
much. I appreciate you.
Amen. Well, let's jump right into it, sir, because of time today, ladies and gentlemen. We had some questions for Doc. We want to make sure we keep them rolling. If you don't mind, Doc, give us an overview of Fathers Incorporated, please.
So we began Fathers Incorporated in we are, as you can see at the top of our logo on the
Yeah.
left hand side, his right,
Yes, sir.
that number 20. We are celebrating
Yeah.
20 years of operation this
Yeah.
year.
Yeah.
And
Yep.
so we are very excited. Our theme for this year is Fatherhood Forward, meaning that we're continuing the momentum of having conversations and elevating the conversation and concept,
Yeah.
of fatherhood. We started in the state of New York, and for 10 years, we
Yeah.
did that work there as diligently as we could. While I was in New York, I also served as the I'm not national, but the New York State Director of Fatherhood Initiatives for the state of New York for 5 years. But that is
Yeah.
also where I began Fathers Incorporated, and I actually left my not-for-profit for
Wow.
the 5 years or 4.5 years that I was doing the work for the state of New York. And
Yeah.
God made it clear to me when I started that work that you got 5 years, bro. You're doing this to learn. You're doing this to understand.
Yeah.
And that is what I did while I was there. And the great thing, I didn't think it was such a great thing when I first got there.
Right. Yeah.
My program was within the Office of Employment and Workforce Development and Training. And I was like, okay, I could do this work here. And
Yeah.
then when David Hansel came on board, he brought me into his office and he said, I'm going to move this fatherhood work into the Office of Child Support Enforcement. And I was
Yeah.
like, nah, we can't do that. I was
Right.
like, the
Right.
fathers are not going to read. He's like, nah, I need. I'm like, and I resisted hard. And then
Yeah.
he said this thing to me.
Mm.
He said, I'm moving you in this office for a particular reason. He says, because
Yeah.
I think you have the ability to change the culture of child support for the state of New York. He says
Yeah.
he says it's somewhat about the fathers that we're serving. He
Right.
says, but child support needs a culture change. And I think that you have the ability. And that was my mission when I was there for
Right.
4.5 years, to be able to get child support to understand a little more about fathers, to be able to
Yeah.
have policies and to be able to create a culture that respected fathers as viable and essential components to family and child well-being. And I tried to do with that, but to do that, but God was very specific. You got 5 years, 4.5
Yeah.
years. Like, I'm done, I'm
Yeah.
out. Everybody thought I was going to work for the feds and go everywhere. And I was
Right.
like, no, I'm getting back to the work that I was called to do, and that's Fathers Incorporated.
Wow.
And 6 months after that, we put in a bid for the National Responsible Fatherhood Clearinghouse, and we won that bid in 2010. And we've been the contractor for that clearinghouse since then, 14 years doing that work. And so that
Wow.
number that you mentioned in the beginning,
Yeah.
76 million, that number is actually now 94 million
Oh, I
dollars
love it.
over
So,
the
wow,
course
that's
of
powerful.
doing the
Wow,
work.
I
So
love it. That's
yeah.
fantastic. Thank you so much for that overview. Hey guys, we're talking to Kenneth Braswell, agent, CEO, and founder of Fathers Incorporate, I think one of the most important organizations on the planet right now, I believe, without a doubt. Ms. Braswell, also too, I want to talk about few of the key stats off the top of your head that affect fathers today. What's some stats that we need to hear about that? I know there's a lot of stuff going on out there, but what are some key stats right now, maybe two or three that you have that affecting fathers today?
There's a lot that's important to the work. Pew Research put out in 2013 that particularly African American fathers are the most engaged fathers of any cohort of fathers in the day-to-day activities of their children, meaning diapering, taking them to school,
Yeah,
working them with their homework, putting them to bed, reading to them, all of those things. And so it is an absolute lie that African American fathers aren't engaged actively in the lives of their children.
yes,
You can
sir.
go to any low-income community school in the country and see who is dropping children off in the morning. It is
All right.
primarily dads across all
Wow.
populations of fathers. And so, yes, there is
Yeah,
a
yeah,
small percentage of fathers
right,
out there that aren't doing what they are expected to do. And unfortunately, those small percentages drive the total societal narrative. And we
yeah,
need to begin to start looking at fathers from an asset
yes,
perspective as opposed to a deficit perspective. So that's one. The
yeah,
second one that is out there that we need to always be mindful that we are listening to how this stat is being talked about, and that is, in African American communities, 70% of all children are being born into out of
mhm,
wedlock households. But sometimes when people make that quote, they'll say 70% of our children are born without fathers. That's a lie. That's not what the
amen. That's
is
right.
about. That's not what the statistic says.
All
It
right,
only says that children are not born into married households for African Americans.
all right,
It's about 50%, 53% or something for Latinos and about 40% for white families. But it's
yes, sir.
critical to understand that, children fare better when they're born within married families.
Yeah,
We know that marriage is a component that makes families healthy, but that's only because people are committed to the work of being parents and
right,
being co-partners and building life together.
yes,
But
sir.
it's not the only way that our children are raised. And so, while it speaks to marriage, it doesn't speak to involvement,
Right.
because the numbers of fathers that are involved in the children's lives, there is no research out there that calculates that.
Right.
And
Right.
so, or what does that look like? The last thing is there's new research now out of I think it's called the National Community Survey that the census just did in 2020.
Yes,
That
sir.
was updated, I believe, in 2022. I think that was the latest that they're pulling these stats from. And that is that across the board, about 96% of all children are born. Oh, no, I'm sorry. 96% of all children live in the households with either their biological mother or
Mm.
adoptive mother.
Okay.
70% of all children in America live with their biological father or adoptive father. 70%. So if 70% of our children are living with either their father or their adoptive father, when we're talking about fatherlessness, we're only talking in this 30% space.
Right.
And just because those children don't live with those fathers, don't mean that there's no involvement or
Right.
interaction before those fathers. So the national perspective of how we
Right.
look for fathers, and
Yeah.
particularly when we say fathers aren't standing up and fathers aren't doing things, statistically, it's a lie. That we're only
Right.
talking about small percentages. And
Right.
unfortunately, those small percentages are
Right.
having a heavy impact
Yes.
on low income communities, and particularly Black communities, but all communities across the spectrum. And we
Yeah.
need to pay attention to that, because as the old program that I believe it was President Clinton that said this: no child should be left behind. No child should be without access
Right.
to a healthy relationship with both their mother and their father,
Mhm.
regardless of their romantic relationship.
Yeah, right. Absolutely. Well, thank you so much for that. Ladies and gentlemen, if you're just joining us, Mr. Kenneth Braswell, ladies and gentlemen, CEO and founder of Fathers Incorporated, is with us today. He is the founder of this wonderful organization. We're talking about fathers specifically, which equates to the family part of the unit there, if you will. Doc, if you don't mind, and Mr. Braswell, let's talk about the mission, purpose, and the goals of the organization as well, if you don't mind.
Our mission is simple: strengthen families one father at a time.
Mhm.
We also know that is, people ask me sometimes, why do I use CEO, Kevin, and not
Yeah.
ED? And
Right.
it is because this is a business for me. I'm in the
Mhm. Yeah.
business of
Right.
serving people.
Yeah.
I am
Yeah.
the
Yeah.
chief executive officer,
Yes.
of this business.
Yeah.
And the reason that it has to be done from a business perspective is because the more people you can serve, or
Mhm.
the bigger your organization, the more people you can serve. And I
Mhm.
have always wanted to impact my community at scale. And
Yeah.
if I was going to do that, I had to be just as committed in building
Yeah.
the business as I
Yeah.
am with providing the service, right?
Absolutely.
And so I am no longer in the space of holding bake sales, to
Right.
serve
Right.
people.
Right.
I don't need tens of dollars. I need millions of dollars to
Right.
help as many people as possible, particularly as it relates to father absence in their
Right.
households.
That's right.
And so that has been always one of my goals, to continue to scale Fathers Incorporated so that we can impact more families. But we are also, in terms of a mission, we have these kind of pillars that we talk about specifically for fathers. And I'll just speak about one of them because all of them are pretty deep. But
Yeah.
one of the most important ones for me is that, as an agency, that for every father that comes through our space, that they
Mhm.
have a measure of self-actualization.
Yes, sir.
And why is that important? Because it is important for men to become aware of themselves. It is important for them to become aware of their responsibilities. It's important for them to become aware of their impact on the
Mhm.
people who are closest to them and that are in their environments. That typically guys that aren't doing the right thing aren't aware of themselves. They
Right.
aren't aware of the
Right.
impact that they're having on the people closest
Right.
to them. And in the
Right.
fatherhood space, we're talking
Yes,
about
sir.
their
Yes, sir.
children.
Yes, sir.
My belief is that if you can get men to self-actualize, I forgot how you say that word. But anyway, if I could get them to come to a point of
Yeah.
self-actualization,
Yes, exactly.
that they would be better equipped to do what it is I need them to do
Mhm.
with respect to being active and responsible fathers in the life of their children. And the way that we do that in terms of goals is we have a progressive model that we work from. Everything that we do starts with this model, from
Yes.
recruitment, intake, to implementation, to programs, to
Mhm.
assessment, to case management. Everything starts with the heart. And the
Yes.
reason that we start with the heart is, if I can impact how you feel, I can impact how you think. If I can impact how you think, I can change what you do. But I
Yes.
cannot change what you do if I don't
Mm.
change how you think. And
That's
I
right.
can't change how you think if I don't change how you feel.
Right.
And with working with men, that is a component that most people don't adhere to, is that when they're working with them, they only want to impact what they do, and they don't
Yeah.
really put any focus on what they're thinking or how they're feeling. Men
Mhm.
think, and they think based on how they feel. The misnomer is that fathers don't feel, that men don't feel. We do feel very deep,
Amen. Amen.
especially when it comes to our children. But if
Absolutely.
you don't recognize that fathers feel, you're never
Right.
going to get them to think differently, and you're more certainly not going to get them to do anything differently.
Yeah, amen. I thank you so much for that. Hey, ladies and gentlemen, if you just join us, this is a special edition of Power Connections on the Men Let's Talk Network with Kevin Vaughan. My special guest today is Kenneth Braswell, CEO and founder of Fathers Incorporated, one of the best organizations and missions on the planet, in my opinion. And just because of the sake of time here, we don't want to hold Mr. Braswell too long today. Mr. Braswell, I want to talk about how people can support you guys and also contact you. Obviously, we have the website here, guys, for sure. If there's any other methods of contacting and getting in touch with the organization?
Absolutely. As the young people say, Google me, right?
Yeah,
And so
exactly. Exactly.
when you
Exactly.
Google me, I pop up all over the place.
Yeah.
But if
Yeah.
you really
There it is.
want to get focused and really
Yeah.
trying to figure out who we are and what we're trying
Yeah.
to do, fathersincorporated.com is the place to start.
Yeah.
We do have
Great
13 to
website.
14 social media platforms that we
Yeah.
have, only because all of those platforms are talking to different audiences in different
Hmm.
ways. We're talking across social media platforms, meaning that
Yes.
what we talk about on Facebook isn't the same thing that we talk about on Instagram. It's not the same thing that we talk about on Twitter. The
Right.
audiences are all different, right? It's
Right.
not the same thing we talk about on LinkedIn. And so if
Right.
you want the fullness of what we are, you can come
Yeah.
to fathersincorporated.com and see all of our social media links at the bottom. But I will also pull out two things that you can get to through
Yeah.
fathersincorporated.com. But just if you want to peel off and you want to see some of our other work, our direct service work happens under a program that we call Gentle Warriors Academy. And
Okay.
that is where we serve our fathers directly, particularly here in Metro Atlanta. We
Mhm.
serve those fathers under a federal grant that we have from the Office of Family Assistance. We're now in the fourth year of that grant, and we are doing phenomenal with
Yeah.
serving fathers. We are graduating every quarter, 50 plus fathers every quarter
Yeah. Oh, that was
that
powerful.
are
It's awesome.
walking across
Yeah.
the stage,
Congratulations.
that are
Yeah.
walking across, that are better equipped,
Right. Right.
better suited,
Yeah.
better committed to be in the lives of their children in the way that they can see. And the cool
Hmm.
thing about it, Kevin, is with every graduation that we have,
Yeah.
although the numbers of fathers that are graduating is increasing, the
Hmm.
numbers of people who come to support them at the graduation is
Right.
increasing at a
Yeah.
higher
Yeah.
clip. And so
Right.
if we have 50 fathers in the building, there's 150 of
Yeah.
their parents, friends, children,
Yeah.
mothers of their children, new boo.
Yeah.
Everybody's in
Yeah.
the spot,
Exactly.
and everybody's celebrating them. And so you
Yes,
can
sir.
see that work at gentlewarriors.com. We're trying to figure out how to scale that up to move that program into other cities. But if you come to fathersincorporated.com, you'll see the work that we're doing of under Fatherhood Gov. That is the work that we do for the federal government. There's all
Mm-hmm.
kinds of assets. If you've ever seen a commercial during a game
Yeah.
that says fatherhood.gov at the end, that all comes out of the Office of Fathers Incorporated. The work that we do with the clearinghouse is there. And then
Fantastic.
lastly, we launched 2 years ago what we're calling the Moynihan Institute for Fatherhood Research and Policy,
Mhm.
because it was critical for us to create a policy entity of Fathers Incorporated to begin to start crafting a new narrative for Black families and more specifically for Black fathers. And we
Mhm.
follow this African proverb, Kevin. It is, as long as the hunter is writing the story, the lion's story will never be told. And for Black people, we have to take command
Yeah.
over the extraction of our story,
Yeah.
the analyzing of our story,
Yes.
the articulating of our story,
Yes.
the distribution of our story, and
Yes.
the framing of our story, so that when it comes out on the other end,
Yeah.
solutions can be based on the lion's perspective
Yeah.
and not the hunter's perspective. And you can
Yeah.
take that however you want to take that. You
Right.
know what
Right.
I'm trying to say.
Yeah.
But that is what we created the Moynihan Institute for Fatherhood Research and
Mm.
Policy. We have 10 incredible African American researchers, both men and women, who take on the task of creating products, creating events, articulating research, and speaking
Yeah.
about our communities in ways that our communities have a better understanding as to what's happening in our spaces around the country.
Oh, that's powerful, Mr. Braswell. Thank you so much. Hey, ladies and gentlemen, if you're just joining us again, this is FathersIncorporated.com, ladies and gentlemen, with the CEO and founder, Mr. Kenneth Braswell. Hey, Brother Braswell, I want to also give a shout out to Miss Hughes. I've not met her yet, but she helped set this up. So I want to give a shout out to her for doing that. And also your team, who I've not met, of course, as well, your staff, your team. We want to give a shout out to them. Obviously, you can't do it by yourself. So we just thank God for your team and the staff that you have selected for this wonderful, wonderful opportunity to help fathers all across the network. That's powerful all across the globe as well. That is amazing. I love it. I love it. Hey, lastly, Mr. Braswell, let's hear your final thoughts and a call to action. What you want us to do? Anything? Any final thoughts and call to action? What you want us to do, sir?
Hey, let more people know about us, engage
Yes.
with us. If
Yes.
you see something, the old adages, see something, say something, right?
Yeah.
If you see something that you don't know is
Yeah.
being addressed,
Yep.
please let us know. If we're not doing the right thing, let us know. I am welcoming of constructive criticism.
Yeah. Right.
If you want to stay in touch with us, you can stay in touch with us through our social media platforms and our websites. Or you can also listen to my podcast that airs every Sunday called I Am Dad Podcast. And I bring in voices from all over the country in
Yeah.
this walk that I do in this work to get a larger perspective of how folks around the
Absolutely.
country are working within the responsible fatherhood space, and even bringing on like average everyday
Yeah.
dads that have
Yeah.
nuances in their
Right.
lives where people need to hear true narratives about
I
fathers
love it.
and connect with stories. I think
Right.
that we make the biggest changes in our communities when we listen to stories, which is my advice to people. Tell your story.
Yeah.
Tell your story. Like,
Amen. I
don't
love
be
it.
shy about telling your story when you
That's
have
right.
the opportunity and platform to tell your story, because it
Amen.
is in your story that healing
Yeah.
resides. And
Amen.
someone is just waiting for a connector point that's
Right.
going to connect with something in their lives that's going to heal a part of their heart that you have no idea you're impacting.
Right. Absolutely. Yes, you know how we work as men. You know that already. Man, it takes a minute for y'all to chisel through my heart there. So if you earn it, you get in. If you don't earn it,
Yeah,
you don't get in. That's
absolutely.
great. I love it. That's powerful. Hey, ladies and gentlemen, we're so excited about Mr. Kenneth Braswell taking some his precious time out with us today. Hey, for those who don't know, Kenneth Braswell is the Chief Executive Officer of Fathers Incorporated, ladies and gentlemen, a widely recognized national and international nonprofit organization supporting fathers, practitioners, researchers, and policymakers that provide capacity building services to thousands of organizations working to ensure that the fathers contribute to the family well-being of their children. Man, this has been great. Well, Mr. Braswell, we're going to set up another appointment offline later on to
Okay.
find out what we can do to help you
Okay.
to get out there. This is your platform too, so you're welcome to use it anytime. We can schedule it. We own it, so I'm excited about that. So
Okay. All right.
when
Yeah.
we own the Men Let's Talk Network, that means we can do what we need to do to make it happen, and we will use all the technology possible to make it happen as well. So thank you so much for your time again today.
Sounds good. Appreciate you. Have a blessed day.
Yes, sir. Thank you so much. Hey, ladies and gentlemen, this has been Power Connection with Mr. Kenneth Braswell on the network. We thank him so much for his time. And we thank you so much for being with us today as well. Hey, check out the website, guys, at Fathers Inc. That's fatherincorporated.com, fathersincorporated.com. Mr. Kenneth Braswell was our wonderful guest today. Y'all take care, and we'll see you next time on Power Connections with Kevin Vaughan. We've been talking about fathers. Remember, guys, you matter. Fathers matter. And remember to always outlove, outserve, and out-forgive each other. And remember, there's nothing you can do with the right people around you. Take care, everybody. We'll see you next time on the network. And don't forget to share this out, man. This is powerful. Share this one out and keep it moving. We'll see you next time on Power Connection. Bye-bye.